Thanks for joining us and listening to another God-lived and God-breathed message by Darius Nelms. Our mission is to increase our generation standard back to God's standard of excellence and kingdom living through personal development, relational wisdom, business management, and faith increase. Our aim is that this message inspires and infuses you to reach your next level of living and helps you discover your rightful place in God's kingdom. Now, let's dive into the message.
Dedicated and destined for a purpose. Carter was born for a purpose, and so were you. Purpose is the original intent for a thing. And I want you to jot that down. I want you to write that down. That's going to help you as you continue in your life's journey. Purpose is the original intent of a thing. Purpose is the original intent of a thing. And if you don't know your purpose, you will misuse your time and you will abuse your life. If you don't understand the purpose of your life, you will misuse your time and you will abuse your life. And there's a biblical passage that reads in Hosea that says, "My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge." That's a very popular and famous verse that a lot of people often quote. But I want us to listen to that slowly, and I want us to listen to it carefully. That our lives are destroyed because we don't know or have knowledge of the purpose of things. Our lives are destroyed because we don't know the purpose of a thing. Even on a grand scale, our country, our nation, even surrounding countries are destroyed in the world because of a lack of knowledge of proper governance, right? Because people don't know how to govern, they destroy the land that they live in. They destroy their lives. They destroy social order. They destroy political construct. And again, destruction happens when we don't operate in the genuine purpose of a thing. When we violate that purpose for which a thing was created, we are destroying its possibility and positive impact that it could have. So if we are unfamiliar with the purpose of a thing, we are destroying the positive impact that it could have on society. We're destroying the positive impact that it could have on someone's life simply because we misuse the time that we have it and we destroy it because of our lack of knowledge regarding its purpose. And so your purpose is not only your intent of being, but your purpose is who you become. Your purpose is not only your intent of being, but your purpose is who you become. And I think that's very important for all of us to recognize and realize that our purpose is who you become. It's not just your intent of being, but it is who you become. And many people reduce their life's purpose to something that they do vocationally, that they do for work. And some people, that works for them, it intertwines. But for other people, it's not. Your purpose and your job, they're two separate things. And it's okay. If your job is not refining you, if it's making you angry, disgruntled, irritable towards people, then you could say that that's not your purpose. It's your job. It may pay the bills, but it's not your purpose. But if your job is challenging you, it's making you well-rounded, it's pushing you beyond your personal set bounds of what you may be comfortable doing, and it's challenging your mind and it's making you a well-rounded person for the benefit of other people, then that may be your purpose. Because your purpose is tied to who you become. It's not just centered around what you do, but your purpose is tied to who you become. So purpose is so important that God actually placed it in each of us. God placed purpose in each of us, and I want you to understand that very, very clearly, because a lot of people are out looking for purpose. You don't have to go look for it because it's already within you. What do I mean by that? A seed does not have to wonder what its purpose is. Its purpose is already within it to be a tree. It just needs the right environment. It needs the right laws to help govern it and all of those things to make it sprout, to make it grow, but the purpose is already placed inside it. And so you never have to look for purpose. It's tucked down deep inside of you already. And the thing about purpose is when it gets ready to come out, you can't fight it along the way. A couple of women in here have had children. When that baby is coming, you cannot fight it. You cannot fight it. You have to go with the contractions. You got to go with the flow of the baby coming out. Otherwise, you're being counterproductive. You cannot fight it. So, for instance, Carter is learning how to walk, right? And his learning how to walk, we don't have to necessarily teach him how to walk. Walking is already a part of his development. God has already placed walking as a part of his destiny. So as his parents, as his family, as his village, we just kind of help guide him in that way of how to walk. But we don't teach him how to walk. That comes out of him. All those late nights when he's talking and standing like a straight board in his sleep, that's walk trying to come out of him, but we don't have to force it out of him. We don't have to beat it out of him. It's going to come out of him very naturally. And so purpose is something that you don't have to force out. You don't even have to look for, but it's already within you. Place yourself in the right environment. Place yourself around the right people. Connect yourself back to the source in which you come. And purpose will come out of you. And again, we help him refine his walking. You know, we don't make him walk. Like he develops on his own. Everything that God placed in him is going to come out. And so that's purpose. Purpose is something that is not forced, right? It just comes out and it flows very naturally. And it may even be uncomfortable at times, right? Your purpose may make you uncomfortable. As it's coming out of you, it may cause some discomfort. And one of the biggest hacks of life relative to discomfort of any sort is to lean into the discomfort. Don't run from the discomfort, but lean into it. It's a Bible verse that says that God hadn't given us the spirit of fear, because the opposite of leaning into the discomfort that life may pose relative to your purpose and your becoming would be running from it. To run from it would make you a coward, and I don't think any of us are cowards. I think that we are all intentional and purposeful beings, and because of that, we lean into that discomfort, whatever discomfort life may throw our way. We don't run from it, but we lean into it. And the more that we lean into it, the more we have the ability to grow from it. And so there's a couple of passages of biblical scripture that I want to share. 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1. It says, "Now Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great and honorable man in the eyes of his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria. He was also a mighty man of valor, but a leper. But a leper. But a leper." And so we see the speaking of Naaman's accomplishments. He was a mighty man of valor. He was a strong man. He was honorable. He won many battles and victory, but he was a leper. And that but clause changed everything for Naaman's life. That word but can almost cancel out every other accomplishment in front of it, because that but can be a hindrance to purpose, fulfillment, and destiny if you're not careful. Let it never be said about Carter that but was in his story and his journey. Never let it be said that Carter is great, but. No, we don't want the but. Never let it be said about that Carter has great potential, but. We don't want the but. Because but can exclude you from your destiny. Can we all agree on that? Because but is the very thing that is a hindrance to your destiny and the fulfillment of your purpose. And this is not a suggestion that Carter would not experience trials and tribulations and testing, because he will. That's part of the human experience. That's part of human nature. But as that even presents itself, we all want to be able to see God's hand on his life. And if there's ever a but, I want all the hosts of heaven to know that Carter, being a boy, or even as he grows into becoming a man, that God has already pledged that he will take the good, he will take the bad, he will take the ugly, he will take all of those various things, and he will make it work for the good of Carter and for all of us as well, if we are called according to his purpose. So this ties back to purpose, of walking in your purpose of what God has already placed inside of you. That's you walking in what he's called you to. And so Genesis chapter 24, verse 1 says, "Now Abraham was old, well advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things." May the Lord bless Carter with all things. How many things? All things. May Carter never lack. May Carter have the grace of God on his life. And as his parents and his family, we declare that the Lord, this King of the universe, this great God, is the owner of Carter's life. He's the owner of Carter's life. We as his parents are his managers, and the rest of the family, grandparents, cousins, aunts and uncles are the assistant managers in Carter's life. And so we as a family speak boldly that Carter will operate in his purpose and be who God has called him to be and to become. Carter will become a king. He will become a priest. He will become a ruler over his sphere of influence, whatever that sphere of influence that God has for him. As it says in Revelation chapter 5, verse 10, it says, and have made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign on the earth. Because a king's greatest skill, again, talking about this great God, this king of the universe, his greatest skill is to be able to delegate. So he's delegated to us on earth while he resides in heaven, and he's given earth in the hands of man. And so this God formed Carter and knitted him together into being and for his own distinct purpose and for a specific purpose. And part of that purpose is not only the knowledge and the purpose of being here, but to take that purpose and bring order into his sphere. Whatever his sphere of influence is, Carter would take control and reign of that territory and of that sphere, and he will bring order to it the way that God has ordained and destined him to do. Psalm chapter 127, verse 3 and 4 says, children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. Children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hands. And so because we are in partnership with God, we thank him for the gift of children. God gives children to us to teach us many things, and yet we choose to ignore those things because at the end of the day, they're just children. We're adults. We have it all figured out. They know nothing. But children are sent by God to remind us of something, no matter how old we are in our age. And I think it's many things that children teach us, but I think one of the biggest things that children remind us of is to have big capacity. I don't want you to forget that, to have big capacity. And what do I mean by that? The capacity to love, the capacity to learn, the capacity to give, the capacity to forgive, the capacity to not be limited, the capacity to keep going and to keep growing, because that's what children do, the capacity to continue to dream and to do things that you don't think that you're able to do because maybe you feel like you've reached your personal, your physical limit. And even the capacity to be flexible in going into new environments and meeting new people. Because as we get older, we like to tend to our little circle and we don't want to fellowship or congregate with other people. But let children be a reminder to you that they can go into any territory, any place, and they can adapt, right? Just like yesterday, although I was running around a lot at his party, same with Heaven. I kept my loving eye on him, and I was just kind of watching just to kind of see who he was with, see how he was responding. And every time I saw him with someone, he wasn't crying. Or he might have been a little uncomfortable, but he wasn't crying. He wasn't falling all out and doing all of the things to maybe emotionally show his discomfort. And so he was reserved, but he was flexible to meeting new people. And I'm proud of him for that because I know how my son can be. So I was very, very proud of him for being open at least. And it was a reminder to me that no matter how old I continue to get, I'm about to be 30, to remain open, to remain flexible, to be molded and malleable to the things that life throws and not to allow external circumstances to infect my internal joy. And so I never placed an expectation on Carter to necessarily be a certain type of way. I just want to watch him and learn from him as much as he watches and he learns from me. The same goes for my wife, Heaven. And so as his parents, his grandparents, his aunts, uncles, cousins, Carter is in this moment to teach you something just as much as you're in the moment to teach him something. And so let's all recognize that we have a part to play in his destiny fulfillment and his purpose. And my wife knows that for the past few months, ownership has been a word that I've been using very, very intently from my own personal prayer time and things of that nature about what it means to take ownership in something. And so ownership is an investment in something. Ownership is an investment in something. And so as it pertains to Carter, taking ownership of your part in his life means taking inventory of the investment that you have in his life. That's what taking ownership means. It's taking inventory of the investment that you have in his life. And Carter will grow up one day. And he'll be able to look at those investment accounts, and he will respond accordingly. So make sure that you are allocating and investing the time, the energy, and the effort that you need to in his life, so that as he continues to grow up, he can look at those investment accounts, and you can see the return that you desire based on what you've sown into him. So as I close out, let it be said as his parents that we dedicate Carter's life to the purposes of God. That we dedicate Carter's life to the purposes of God. That his life will be a reflection of God's love, God's nature, and God's character at every turn. And so Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, this is the last verse that I'm going to share, says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he gets old, he will not depart from it. So in your booklet, underneath a couple of the notes that you took, I want you to write a personal note to yourself that you don't have to share with anyone, but just write a personal note to yourself about how you plan to invest in Carter. Again, this has nothing to do with money. We're talking about time, effort, energy, whatever that is. What is your goal for whatever position that you have in his life, on how you want to invest in him? And I want you to keep this little small pocketbook, and I want you to look back on it from time to time just to remind yourself of the commitment and what you wrote down on this day, again, as we dedicate his life back to God for the purposes of God, to help make the world better, to help make society better, to help make his community better. Whatever his sphere is, I don't know what he's going to do, but whatever he's going to do, I know that he's going to be great because he already is. And so I want you, again, to write in your little notebook how you plan to make that investment in Carter's life and what you want to be remembered for in his life, and hold yourself accountable to it. No one has to hold you accountable to it, but you hold yourself accountable. Don't be afraid to look at the mirror, because it's a beautiful thing to look at, because you get to see yourself back. So make sure you do that reflection in that period. And thank you guys so much for being here, for taking time to be with us and to celebrate Carter's life. And we thank you guys. We love you guys. Thank you guys so much. And we have a closing out prayer from, as we would call, a flower girl granny, because she was our flower girl at our wedding. So whenever she's ready to come up, she'll close us out in prayer, and that will be the conclusion of his dedication.
May the Lord bless you, keep you, and make his face shine upon you. As we abide in his grace, presence, and peace, remember that you are an agent of change wherever your feet shall tread. Thanks for listening to this message and for the opportunity to teach and lead you. Until next time.